you preparing for a residential move to the beautiful city of Vaughan in Ontario? If so, you have landed in the right place. Relocating to a new city and call it home can be very exciting, but at the same time, it meets with a fair share of challenges. But don't worry, we're here with you. We understand those challenges. That's why we have put together in this video the invaluable relocation tip for you to make sure your move to Vaughan is smooth as possible. For those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. My name is Kwa Lee, and I'm the real estate agent working in Vaughan, Toronto, and some other area within the Greater Toronto area for the last almost a decade, and absolutely love it. In this channel, you will be able to find all the in and out, the good and the bad, the pro and the con of living in those vibrant cities. And also, I will sprinkle in some of the real estate market update and tips for home buyer and home seller in between. So make sure to hit the subscribe button and push the notification bell so you don't miss every week when our team release a new video. And if you're thinking of making a move to either Vaughan, Toronto, or some other city within the Greater Toronto area, reach out to me and we can sit down for a discovery call by clicking on the calendar link below. Now, let's dive right in and discover all the invaluable relocation tips. Now, first of all, let's get to know a little bit about Vaughan. So Vaughan is a city in the regional municipality of York and just north of Toronto. It is the 5th largest city within the Greater Toronto area. And Vaughan's estimated population in 2023 is over 333,000. Second tip is budgeting. Budgeting for relocation is crucial so that you can manage the expense effectively. Whether you're moving from just city to city or from the international country to Vaughan, we need to budget in the moving expense, packing costs, and then when you arrive here, you need to expend for the housing costs, either you rent or you buy a new home, or the transportation, are you gonna, rent a car or you're gonna buy a car when you arrive. Make sure to research the expense for each category early in the process. And once you arrive, you do need to know what's the living expense in Vaughan. Budgeting not just to the cost of moving from where you are right now to Vaughan, but also do a research about the living costs when you arrive in Vaughan. So make sure to watch out for my video in the next couple of weeks where I showcase what is the cost of living in Vaughan by category. Next tips is understand the weather in Vaughan. Vaughan have a distinct 4 seasons, so be prepared for the hot summer and the cold winter. So let me show on the chart here how the weather look like all year round. So first of all, you can see it here. This is the overview, okay, from months of January to December, the high and the low temperature. And it show you whether the rain, like how many days of those months that it rained. So you can take a look at this chart right here. Let me show you by graph. So here you can see that in the month of July and August, normally is the hottest months of the summer and it's very humid. And when it comes to the winter, it can go to below 7, or here January to February, it can go to -10 or even lower. Here, the rainfall. So the months of the summer can be the hottest, but also have the most amount of rain. So July and August, you can see it here on the chart, it's like about 85 millimeter of rainfall. Now let's take a look at the amount of snowfall for the months of December and January and February are typically the month that have the most amount of snowfall. So for example, December have 375 millimeter of snow on average, similar in January and February. Now let's take a look at the daylight. Okay, so the month of June and July witnessed the longest amount of daylight, like on average 15 hours, whereas in the December and January, which experienced the shortest amount of daylight. So get to know all of this info to be prepared before you arrive in Vaughan. Now that after you have an overview of the weather, make sure to pack enough clothes for your 4th season when you arrive in Vaughan. Next tip is make sure to do enough research about different type of neighborhood in Vaughan and make sure to choose the best neighborhood that fit you and your family and your lifestyle. Usually people choose the neighborhood based on the type of school that you want to send your kid to if you have a kid, or the location that is close to work if you do need to commute to work and be in the office physically, and depending on also like the transportation, the public facility, the healthcare, the hospital. So make sure to check out the video that I talk about top Vaughan neighborhood. Next tip is choosing the school and education. If you have kids, make sure to do enough research to know which type of school that you want to send your kid to. Choosing the right school for your kid based on their personality, their strength, their passion can have a very positive impact on their education experience, and especially when they first move to Vaughan. First of all, decide whether you want to send your kid to the private school or public school. Check out the schools with high ranking and have the curriculum that fit your children's interests. And also make sure to choose the school not just high on academy ranking, but also have the good extracurricular program for your kid to explore their hobby and their passion. I have put in the description below the website that you can check the ranking of the school, as well as the 3 other websites for you to explore either the private school for your kid, or the public school, or the public Catholic school. Next tip is to research on what type of housing. First, decide whether you want to rent or buy a property once you arrive in Vaughan. Whether you decide to rent or to buy a house once you arrive in Vaughan, I strongly recommend to find a real estate agent that can represent you in finding a perfect rental property or a property to buy, so that they can protect your interest and help you find your best dream home in Vaughan. Also, keep in mind that either you have that agent to represent you to rent a home or to buy a home. It doesn't cost you anything at all. And please note that the cost of housing in Vaughan, whether you rent or you buy a home, can vary depending on what type of neighborhood that you decide to settle in. But let me show you what's the average rental cost in Vaughan. So here, this is the report on for the month of July 2023. So this is on average in Vaughan. Vaughan ranked number 6 in terms of the most expensive rental cost in Canada. You can see it here, Vaughan, for 1 bedroom, it costs $2,250 on average, and 2 bedroom, it costs on average $2,690. And now let me show you on average how much it costs to buy a home in Vaughan. So like I show you right here, the graph of the average price per home type. So for a detached home, for the month of June 2023 in Vaughan, it costs on average over $1,000,074, and semi-detached it costs over $1.22 million, townhome it costs over $1.13, and a condo apartment costs over $726,000. In the description below, I have put together 2 websites where you can search either rental property or property to buy in Vaughan. The next tip is to connect with the community. Once you settle in deciding what type of neighborhood you want to live in and the housing type, the best way to get the most out of the experience of living in the new city as Vaughan is to get involved as much as you can in that community. I do recommend to get to know all the neighbor around you as fast as you can, and also you can host like a housewarming party, and you can invite your neighbor to get to know them and for them to get to know you. Also, if you do have time, I do recommend also to volunteer in your own community. Also, if you have a kid, I also recommend you to get involved as much as you can at your kid's school to get to know all the teacher, the parent, and some community or the neighborhood also already have a close Facebook group built for that community. So reach us on Facebook. The group, usually start out with the neighborhood name. For example, if you decide to move to Patterson in Vaughan, I have the group called Patterson Community and Update. And if you decide to move to either let's say Velo Village or Sonoma Heights, I strongly believe that each of that neighborhood also have a Facebook group with that name. And hey, if any of the neighborhood that you search, there doesn't exist anything at all on the Facebook, why don't you go ahead and create your own? And you can invite all the neighbors to that close community group that you build. Next tip, to research what to do in Vaughan. But don't worry, I have done the job for you. I have put together the video called Vaughan Local Guide, showcasing all the fun places, the attraction that you and your family should visit once you arrive in Vaughan. But hey, Vaughan is just north of Toronto, not too far from the city. So make sure to check Toronto Local Guide video where I showcase all the places that you can visit in Toronto as well. Next tip is to research on job opportunity. Before you make a move to Vaughan, make sure to research the job opportunity in Vaughan as well as a potential employer that you will love to work with. Knowing where you will love to work also help you decide where you want to live in Vaughan. There are a lot of opportunity for job types either in Vaughan or Toronto where you can commute from Vaughan to Toronto. However, keep in mind that the competition for job market, especially the high-skilled job market, is very competitive. Sometimes newcomers find themselves that the education or qualification are not recognized in Canada. This can be true for some certain professionals such as doctor, nurse, engineer, or teacher. And sometimes re-credentialing can be time-consuming and expensive. Therefore, I strongly recommend you, before you decide to make a move to Vaughan, make sure to research what qualification is needed for your professional and also what type of vacancy or salary offer in Vaughan before you make a move. Next tip is to get familiarized with the transportation system in Vaughan. City of Vaughan have an extensive transit system. The first one is York Regional Transit, YRT, provide the local bus and rapid transit services in Vaughan and within the York region. Vaughan also had access to the Toronto Transit System, TTC, the subway extension that go above the Dowsville Station to Vaughan Metropolitan Centre. Next is Go Transit, which provide both train and bus that connect Vaughan to other cities. Next tip is to find a healthcare provider. When you move to Vaughan, especially from outside country, it's very essential for you to have a family doctor once you arrive in Vaughan. That family doctor will be your first point of contact for the general healthcare checkup, routine checkup, and managing any chronic healthcare condition. First, if you have your family or friend that you already know who living either in Vaughan or even Toronto, check out with them to see if their family doctor are accepting new patients, because the referral is the best source. Second option is to visit the local medical center and health clinic and ask them whether they know any family doctor who are accepting new patients. Next is to research about the law and regulation in the city of Vaughan. Next tip is extra important for those who are coming from outside of Canada. The least thing you want to do to add to your stress of moving to Vaughan is to not knowing the law of that location or the city and you're doing something unintentionally that is not allowed with the law of the city of Vaughan. There, now you have it. Some of the most valuable tips that I hope is helpful for you and your family to make the most smooth move to Vaughan. If you do have any specific question or if you need an assistance in helping you find the housing when you arrive in Vaughan, reach out to myself and my team. Like I mentioned earlier, click on the calendar link below and book a free discovery call with us. And thanks in advance for allowing me to make an impact in your life. If you find this video helpful and if you know any friend, family who are also thinking to make the move to Vaughan, make sure to share this video with them. See you in the next video.